Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
Where is she? I'm free, you son of a bitches! You can't touch Duane Barry anymore! Don't move! Ah! Don't move! I'm not going anywhere! Where is she? Where'd you leave her? They took her! Who? Them! I told you they were gonna take somebody else! They did!
Hello, and welcome to the eX-Files. That's the eX-Files, a buffering rewatch adventure where we're watching and discussing every episode of the eX-Files one by one, spoiler-free. I'm too close to this case! I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the eX-Files.
And I'm Kristin Russo, who was extremely turned on by the utterance of that line. I am ex-wife, not when Jenny said it, when Skinner said it.
Okay.
To be clear. Mm-hmm. Because I am the ex-wife of Jenny Owen Youngs, and I've only ever seen 30. I was pretty excited to put the number 30 in there. That's a good amount of episodes of the eX-Files.
Yeah, you're getting some stuff under your belt.
Today we are talking about the 30th episode of the eX-Files, Season 2, Episode 6, Ascension. But does she ascend to a UFO or a helicopter, Jenny?
Ascension was written by Paul Brown. He knows the answer. It was directed by Michael Lang. He might know the answer. And it originally aired on October 21st, 1994, when the rest of us started wondering about the answer.
This is the one, according to IMDb, where Mulder and Agent Krychek are in a race against time to find and rescue abducted Scully before crazed Duane Barry can take her to what he believes to be his alien puppet masters. Excuse me? Was this the TV guide? Was this the TV guide entrant? It's dramatic this week.
Producer LaToya Ferguson gives this episode a scary rating of 1 out of 5, turning one man's religion into a crusade. LaToya goes on to say, hell yeah, this is not a scary episode. There's tension, especially in the moments of the tram going up and then Mulder ending up on top of it, as well as Duane driving with Scully in the trunk. But not a scary episode. It's just a good-looking use of shadows, reflections, well-made, gotta admire the pacing and scale, episode of television. I think LaToya Ferguson is a fan of the eX-Files.
I think she's certainly becoming one, or she's allowing the possibility. You know, I would say
she wants to believe that she could become a fan.
I would say that LaToya Ferguson at this point in our journey wants to believe. Correct, which is a big deal. You know, it takes a good amount to get LaToya to want to believe in a television show. So happy that she is enjoying, at the very least, this episode and maybe this arc. Jenny.
Kristin, before we talk about even our general episodes of this,
you'd like to do the Macarena?
I'd like to do the Macarena. I'd like to discuss what we did this weekend, how we spent our weekend vacation, why our voices might sound just like a little bit more, you know,
little low,
used,
little low, lower
than
register.
Usual.
You know, recently we re-aired a couple of season 3 episodes from the Buffering the Vampire Slayer catalog, and the year was 2018, and I was like, wow. I sure do. My voice sounds higher pitched in 2018 than it just does in a regular resting position in 2020. It's really been a few years. It's been a long 6 years since 2018. And yes, Jenny, today our voices are deeper because we spent the last weekend promming it the fuck up in Brooklyn. This episode was supposed to air on the 24th of April, Wednesday, our normal air date, but we're actually putting it up on Friday because we needed a minute to get our acts together.
Listen, one does not simply walk into prom and then back out again and then suffer no schedulatory consequences.
Did you have any favorite moments from the weekend, Jenny?
Whoa, my God. Did I have any moments that weren't my favorite? Might be a better question. What happened? Let me tell you what happened, dear listener. Picture this. It's Buffy Prom 2024. You might imagine that a certain percentage of the audience / attendees / prom bid holders would come to prom dressed up like Buffy from Prophecy Girl. My ex-wife did. My current wife did. My best friend from 7th grade did. And a ton of Scoobies did. And we took it upon ourselves that our annual indulgence in the good Lord's Macarena
uncut.
To invite everyone dressed up as Prophecy Girl Buffy up to the stage to lead the Macarena festivities. And that was, well, I'll never forget it. You know what else I'll never forget?
What?
Singing with you, Jess, Ben Thornwell, and Hannah Winkler, To Become One by Spice Girls.
Need some love like I never needed love before. It was so much fun. It was great. I also need to give credit where credit is due. We were sort of like poised on stage to do the Macarena, and it was your current wife, Jess, who said, what if you call up all the Prophecy Girls?
Yeah.
Like, truly
she's
a moment.
Very smart.
She's
always
very smart.
Right, is something that I learn on a weekly basis.
You have a type, Jenny. The always right.
Women who are right.
Women who are actually correct, yes. Yeah, I mean, those were two of my top moments. We, our longtime pal, Zoe, who's a costumer for Broadway shows, made us a couple of wizard robes that we wore to trivia, a la Giles in the magic shop when he's standing in that absolutely ridiculously perfect purple wizard robe with the pointy hats.
Trivia was fun and hard. I'm so glad we were asking the questions and not having to answer them.
I didn't know the answers to like more than 50% of the questions I asked. But
yeah, that was sobering. I mean, nobody knew because we were just asking the questions, but now we're telling you, so our secrets are revealed.
But we wore the robes on Friday and then we hung them up by the like photo area on Saturday. So there are a lot of photos of Scoobies wearing those robes as well. And our amazing photographer, Savannah, delivered to us a gallery of photos. So if you want to see some of the record keeping taken by Savannah.
Someone came dressed as the Class Protector Award.
Parasol. Unbelievable. Also, someone else, I think, or was it that same person? Somebody at prom came with a bunch of tiny like cocktail umbrellas and
That's
gave
a different person.
It was a different person. Gave a cocktail umbrella to every prophecy girl, myself included.
The teeny tiny class protector award.
So cute. Also, stay tuned because a lot of you are not located in Brooklyn or able to get to Brooklyn and couldn't join us in person. But we do have a little something special planned for early this summer that you'd be able to join from wherever you are. We'll be talking more about that in early May. So stay tuned. If you aren't on our mailing list, get on our mailing list. I mean, you know, we'll put things on socials, but the truth is, who can trust social media these days? Will you see it?
No one can trust social media. And also, a wise young woman once said, "Email my heart." You know?
I was like, is it me? Is it going to be me? Did I say the
It's not you. It's Britney Spears. And signing up for our newsletter will allow us to email your heart.
Wow. Jenny.
What do you think?
Beautiful.
All
right. A lot of people came here not to hear about us talk about Buffy or Buffy prom, but rather to hear us talk about goo gaga. Yeah, exactly. So big thoughts on this episode. This is a second part of a two-parter. I had to brief Avanti because she didn't fucking watch the episode before this one. So imagine me on my couch being like, so there's this guy, Duane Barry, 1985. He's got a dog. I like ran down the whole thing for her, and so that we could watch the second part together. What do you think, Jenny?
My big thoughts about this episode are exactly the same as my big thoughts about the previous episode. Item 1, it's fucking on. Continued. Things are heating up. And item 2, Mulder's hair still looking like shit. Although LaToya very wisely pointed out that the 5 o'clock shadow is doing something to balance out the bad hair.
Yeah, there are a couple of shots in this episode where you can't really see his hair, but you can see the 5 o'clock shadow. Really great moments.
Shots.
Yeah, best shots in the episode.
How are you feeling as a first-time watcher?
Now
Kristin?
I'm feeling fucking in, Jenny. I'm in. I loved this episode, specifically this installment, the second part of this episode, because you know, we watched the episodes twice. I assume you're still doing that, right? You watch the episode once generally and then once for notes. And when I watched Ascension the first time, my brain did what I'm sure a lot of viewers' brains did when they watched this. Like, oh, there's a bright light. It's Duane Barry. He's taken her to the alien abduction site. Mulder's seeing these visions of an abducted, very pregnant Gillian Anderson. Like, whatever. But when I watched it the second time, I was like, oh, they've done this fucking thing where every line in this episode is just they, and you can fill in that they with military ops and a helicopter, or you can fill in that they with aliens or some combination therein. And like, that's my shit. I love like watching this and being able to wonder what did happen. Where is Scully? And not being told. A lot of the episodes we've seen, you know, it's clear. There's the aliens, and there they are. And like this one, Duane Barry set us up with some alien questions, and this one I just felt like knocked it out of the park, leaving us with way more questions than answers. So I am invested.
I'm so happy to hear it, and I think that's the appropriate response.
Great. Good job, everyone. Also, you know what I thought was funny? And maybe we can talk to LaToya about this some other time as well. But like, I kind of did a double take when I saw that the writer of this was not Chris Carter, because it's a two-parter. And I was like, what does that process look like when you have written an episode with a to be continued? Like, clearly, I mean, you know, Chris Carter's obviously involved in the story, but it just seemed funny to have this second half not written by the same person who wrote the first half.
Yeah, I wonder if Chris Carter is like creating a beat sheet and handing it off to another writer and saying like, these are all the things you need to hit, but like, you know, you do it.
Yeah. We're just fucking lining up layers for LaToya to make for us, you know?
Yeah. It's really gonna be like a, you know, like Carlsbad Caverns?
No.
You know, like that's the only one I can think of the name of offhand. But you know, caverns where there are stalagmites and stalactites.
Oh yeah. I've got house caverns. I'm an upstate New York girl.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so just like a chain of caverns that are attached to each other by little crawlways. And it's just like LaToya's ever-extending subterranean lair.
She has it's actually a lair mansion. A lair shin.
Yeah.
Okay, so we hear this message. So many of our listeners wrote in about the message that Scully leaves at the end of Duane Barry because it's heart-wrenching. And we hear it all over again, but this time we see
Rude
Mulder listening to it. Oh, no.
He is not happy. Watching his face as he hears the barcode thing, and you see kind of like, he's like, ooh, you know? But then he starts to hear the crashing and the screaming, and this man is flying to Scully's apartment so fast.
Yeah.
Ugh, how much did it pain you to see Dana Scully once again reaching but failing to grab a gun in her own apartment?
Right. Well, it's funny because you said last week, did she, like, why wasn't her gun in reach? And when I saw that clip, I was like, oh my God, her gun was kind of almost in reach. It was right there.
Sweetie, you got to stop taking that thing off at home.
The real question is, Jenny, though, like, we're seeing, at first I thought we were seeing what happened, but I think what we're seeing is just what Mulder is imagining happened based on the evidence that he's finding. Because it's sort of like Mulder sees the broken glass and then we see, like, what he imagines happened. And, like, I mean, you know, he is a genius, as we are told. So I'm sure he's accurate in all of his imaginings. But I thought maybe he imagined Scully's gun being out of reach because it's always out of reach. And even Mulder knows that.
Yeah, we don't see him imagining all of the scented soaps lined up on the edge of the tub waiting for her to run a bath.
Yeah. In Mulder's imagination, there's just like a trapper keeper with like Scully and Mulder
Scully heart
forever.
Mulder.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh my gosh, this cordless phone, it's like a brick. It's like something you would throw through a window with a message tied around it.
It's amazing to me that Duane Barry got all this done. I mean, this is like, it's not like he showed up in the apartment sort of like chloroformed Scully and pulled her out the back door. Like, he smashed through the glass, smashed the phone, got her car keys. She was screaming for at least a little while. And he still managed to get her in the fucking trunk of the car and out of there before anyone was the wiser.
And where are her neighbors?
That's what I'm saying.
Also, Mulder just careening through this crime scene, getting blood all over himself. I am once again reminded
I can't.
of the detectives combing through a crime scene in The Fall, another Gillian Anderson joint, and wearing hazmat suits and laying down little tarps to prevent them from sullying the crime scene. But here, Mulder's just getting evidence all over his body.
He's literally like finger painting in blood. Like Mrs. Scully, who I want you to know.
Oh my God, yeah. You pan down to a piece of paper where he's just finger painted the Jersey Devil. Or a little alien head.
Or a rendering of Samantha Mulder, which might be the same as the Jersey Devil, TBD.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to say we will be talking about Mrs. Scully a few times in this episode, and it is so bizarre for me to hear anyone call her Mrs. Scully because it feels like they're saying Mrs. Dana, because to me, Scully is Scully's first name, so Scully's mom should be Mrs.
Right.
something else.
Yep.
But yeah, she shows up and Mulder's like, everything is fine, and puts his hand up and it's covered in blood. And he's like, sorry. And then we go to the credits.
Yeah. And throughout that scene and also throughout the episode as we move forward, Mark Snow is going absolutely nuts with the piano arpeggios.
Yeah.
Boo-doo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo. I was like, wondering if this was modal, and I didn't have time to do a full, what's that word?
Investigation.
When you're like, oh, it's like a little more, medical than that. Not forensic, but like listen, somebody out there is furiously typing an email to me right now about the word that I mean. I believe it. And then somebody else will soon be furiously typing me an email. I had basically time to check out one variation of the arpeggio, which was an E minor flat 6. But I feel like the chord, the arpeggios expand beyond 4 notes and it gets like a little bit wilder. If anybody out there is a big music dork and wants to write in any of your music thoughts about the arpeggios, any of your findings as you've done your assessments, we're here for it. Hello at bufferingcast.com.
Arpeggiologist.
Oh, arpeggio is like, yeah, if there are any arpeggiologists out there, please let us know your thoughts.
At prom, Jenny asked me to do a guitar solo with only my mouth, and I think
God.
I
Yes,
really...
it was so musical.
I proved to you once and for all that I am a natural talent. I think I really fucking nailed it. So
You prove to me all the time that you're a natural talent, but what I can say for certain is that was not one of the times.
Really? Because I'm still impressed with myself.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So the credits hit, but something is different. Something's a little different, Kristin.
I don't know what it is. I deny everything, Jenny.
Oh, you deny that anything is different? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who are not in denial, instead of "the truth is out there," the ending phrase of the credits is "deny everything," which will come up later.
Yeah, we'll hear Mr. X deliver us the titular "deny everything" in a little while. So news crews are outside. Back inside Scully's, Mrs. Scully tells us that she had a dream that Dana was going to get taken away. I was going to call her, but I was afraid.
Women in this family.
They're witches. Witches, I tell you.
They know stuff.
Dana dreaming about her father, her mom dreaming about her. Seems like there should be some less skeptics in this family, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that this week, not to spoil any of our STA noms, but Jenny on her own gave us Skinner and Mulder, and that made me happy.
What? Not to spoil any, but here's one.
Yeah, like I'm sorry I'm going to spoil one, but I was happy
okay.
I was happy that you saw a little bit of the sexual tension between them.
It was there.
Great.
So I saw it.
Well, here he is, Skinner himself. Wow, Skinner already on the team. Like my crystal ball and I said we think Skinner's on our team, and it took like 1 second for Skinner to be like 100% on our team. So I'm thrilled.
What do you think is going through Skinner's mind when, we're getting the refresher in case we're Avanti and we didn't watch the first episode in the 2-parter. Duane Barry's brain, we believe that it was impacted when he was shot versus Duane Barry is convinced he's an alien abductee and is following the instructions of the alien voices in his head. And Skinner asks Mulder which explanation he subscribes to. What do you think Skinner's thinking in this moment? Is he thinking anything other than that Mulder's going to say aliens?
But Mulder
why
does.
ask the question?
But Mulder does, which is amazing. Like Mulder doesn't say, yeah, it's the aliens. He says, like, I think that the bigger question here is how the fuck did they get to Scully? Like, is it the piece of metal? Is there something else going on? And I know that Skinner is set up to be like, Mulder enough. But like, as we clearly see by the end of this episode, Skinner has respect for Mulder, or at least has respect for the fact that Mulder is the only one who seems to be willing to call people on their bullshit. So I think he's genuinely asking him what he thinks. Smug bitch alert at this table. This man, I don't know who these people are at the table, but there's like a man and a woman, and they're both smug, but the man wins. Smug bitch.
Okay.
This is when things get really sexy, Jenny. Skinner tells Mulder to go home and sleep. And then
listen, that is an order. You're too close to this case.
Parenthetically, I write kiss, and then underneath I write smoking man smokes.
What do you think everybody in the room who isn't like Mulder and Skinner is thinking about how this one guy is just always there smoking and like off to the side and like never says anything?
I mean, honestly,
it's fine.
It's one of my biggest questions at this point, especially since we're now like talking openly about the fact that like Krychek was brought in, was not FBI, that Mulder is clearly saying whoever the guy that's fucking smoking all the time works for is who we should be asking questions to. And so I really do wonder what Skinner, like, you know what I mean? Like, what is I mean, I imagine we'll learn, but I don't know. And I have the same questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bow, 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 bow.
Wow, wow, wow.
Me and LaToya, maybe you as well, shouted, "Scream!" Red Right Hand cannot have a needle drop without me immediately thinking of the school in Scream and like all the students coming out and fucking, you know, it's just one with the franchise.
I didn't yell Scream because I saw this episode of the X-Files, you know, 2 years before Scream came out.
Before Scream.
And I owned songs in the key of X before.
Did this show
Scream
introduce you to Red Right Hand?
Yeah.
Wow. Because it's in, the first thing I said after I shouted Scream was, this song has to be, like, if there's a chart, a ranking of sync placements, this song has to be up there because it's on Scream and it's in the X-Files, but it's in so many other things.
It's just got an absolutely impeccable vibe. There's no way around it.
It's true.
Ew, this article that I'm reading says perhaps the best known use of the song is in Peaky Blinders. I'm going to find the person who wrote this article and talk to them.
Also, I learned in producer LaToya's notes the meaning of non-diegetic. Is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Which means if it's diegetic, then the song being played in the episode or movie or whatever is heard by the character. So, like, Duane Barry can hear Red Right Hand, and that makes it diegetic. And if it's non-diegetic, it's just for us, the viewers.
I'm so glad
word
to be learning this actual word because I've always said environment for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said environmental music. That's just like what my brain came up with to indicate like it's happening in the moment, in the world of the thing that you're watching.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
Diegetic is correct.
When Michelle Branch sings Goodbye to You, that in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, diegetic.
Yep.
We have to go back and do the whole series again just so I can talk about all of the moments that are diegetic.
So we can say diegetic and non-diegetic bunch.
Move over, slots and noms. It's diegetic or not diegetic now.
Yeah. So for a guy who's on a mission that's very important, he sure is driving recklessly. I mean, on the one hand, sure, you're on a mission and you're going to go real fast and take turns like a
bat out of hell.
Yes, like a bat out of hell. But on the other hand, like, you know, you don't want to get pulled over because that's going to slow you down. And also you're going to shoot a police officer.
It doesn't seem like Duane Barry is concerned or has been concerned with anything like that at all. But I also wondered why he can't drive very well. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not just like a squeak turn. It's like he like misses he's all over the road.
The officer asks him to turn off the radio and Duane is like, no, officer, Nick Cave is absolutely ripping way too hard for me to turn this off. But then the cop clocks the blood on his wristband and knuckles and is like,
Yeah, and I wondered what would have happened if Scully didn't bang on the trunk, because it's when Scully bangs on the trunk that the cop turns and then Duane Barry shoots the cop.
Yeah, well, I'm like, why did Scully wait
so long?
So long. But Duane shoots this officer and then he like plays a quick round of trunk peekaboo with Scully and he's back on his way.
Yeah, and luckily for all of us, the cop turned on his dash cam before any of this happened. So we get cut, of course, to everyone watching the footage. And Mulder says it, Jenny, but I'll let you call for it.
He says enhance!
Holy hocus pocus, get it into focus. Enhance, enhance, enhance. A simple incantation to bring illumination. Enhance, 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 enhance.
Scully's little face popping up out of the trunk.
I have a follow-up question for our listener, Laura. Laura, if you're listening, you wrote us an email about how it's possible to extract more information from images than what we see with our eyes. We read the email in pod, okay? And so now I feel very confident and cool when anyone says to me, they can't do that, saying, yes, they can. But I really would like a little more information because this is like a pretty crappy little camera. I can't imagine the camera in this cop car is like super impressive. So Laura, if you're listening and you want to give me more information about like, does the camera have to be of certain quality to be able to extract this additional information? Or do you think that even in this case, with some like grainy black and white footage from a dash cam, we could enhance using this other data? Thank you so much for your service.
Mm-hmm. So Mulder, absolutely beside himself, is listening to some Duane Barry recordings, talking about the place where the aliens first got him. A mountain. We went up and up, ascending to the stars. He's interrupted in his listening pursuits when Krychek, who took notes in the last episode, rolls up with a coffee. And is like, ding, ding, it's me, your coffee delivery boy. And then he says, Kristin, and then Alex Krychek says to Fox Mulder at 4:08 p.m., how'd you sleep?
Yeah.
I just feel like he has a tone.
Yeah. My note, I didn't write any of that. I just wrote, Krychek comes over to flirt. So I think we're saying the same thing here using different words.
Cool.
The thing I would like to flirt with in this office is the bookcase of yellow pages, which I found absolutely thrilling. FBI headquarters. Over here is your enhanced machine, and over here is your bookcase full of yellow pages.
Oh my God. I honestly am just so thankful for the internet just for the FBI.
So much less like ink on their fingertips, you know?
Clutter.
So obviously, if you watch the episode, you know Mulder cracks the fucking case, ascend to the stars in the Skyland Mountain tram. He puts it all together. He tells Krychek, go get your fucking car. And we go down to the parking garage. This is where I start to get really excited about the language choices, the dialogue choices, because Krychek is down in the parking garage. He's on his little cell phone talking to Smoking Man, we imagine.
This fucking tattletale. We don't have to imagine. He's on the phone. And then at the end of the scene, the camera pans 10 feet away. Smoking Man is on his phone in his car.
But he says, I underlined a couple of these places. He thinks Mulder thinks Scully has been taken to Skyland Mountain. I'll hold him off until they locate her. Who? LaToya has a note here. The drive that they have to complete is approximately an hour long. Why did we have Krychek start driving and then switch to Mulder driving just so Mulder could fall asleep? I
think Krychek assumed because it's his car that he'd be driving, and they went like 3 blocks and Mulder was like, pull over.
Smoking Man smokes and follows them.
Mulder nearly falls asleep at the wheel and nearly kills them both. And in spite of this fact, he will not give up the wheel. And then this is what Krychek has to say about it.
You know, Chernobyl, Exxon Valdez, 3 Mile Line, they were all linked to sleep deprivation. The U.S. Department of Transportation estimates that over 190,000 fatal car crashes every year are caused by sleepiness.
Did they estimate how many people are put to sleep listening to their statistics?
This is also flirting.
Sleepiness. I just feel like sleepiness it's a choice. That word is a choice, and I'm here to say it.
I actually think so. My full read on Krychek is that Krychek is an out gay man. He has a boyfriend at home. They're down with, fucking around a little bit outside of the relationship boundaries. And so the boyfriend knows all about Mulder, and Krychek is trying to make a move, like, in addition to being an undercover who knows what agent. But I think Krychek, I wrote a couple little notes to myself about how cute I thought Krychek's boyfriend probably was. So,
yeah. So they're talking about, like, the possibility of Barry tracking Scully using the implant. And Mulder's like, well, a much more easy to swallow explanation is that somebody gave Barry Scully's address. I just don't know who. Could it be the turkey in the fucking car with you, man?
Why is calling Krychek a turkey so funny to me?
Because he is a turkey.
He is a turkey. Oh, God. Jenny, first of all, I'm so thrilled that Fox Mulder is afraid of fire and not heights, because this would really be not a good situation. I'm not even afraid of heights. Like, I mean, I guess I am, but, like, it has to be extreme. It has to be like this shit. I will not get on a tram. This weekend, driving up the FDR, I passed the Roosevelt Island tram, and I relayed to Avanti the terror I felt when my softball team at the time made me ride the tram to Roosevelt Island because we had a lot of games over there. I hate a tram. Don't dangle me off of a cord, okay? Just don't. I can't. It's too much.
You're always saying that.
Don't do it. But I did find out this is Grouse Mountain in Vancouver, and I'm looking at the tram. You can ride this tram. It just doesn't say Skyland. It says Grouse Mountain, but it is the tram, and it is. I'm taking the tab off of my computer. It's terrifying.
So, yeah, thank God Kristin is not assigned to this case. This tram just got recabled, but it hasn't been tested yet. So the tram operator tries to tell them that they'll have to drive. And Mulder is like, you're sending me up. I don't have time. And the tram operator says, you don't have a choice. And Mulder, directing the tram operator's attention to his gun, says, no, you don't have a choice. Oh my goodness. I would have felt a lot better if Mulder directed the tram operator's attention to his badge.
Well, okay, so I'm laughing, but I'm transitioning into this note that LaToya left that I think we both agree with, which is there's some police brutality from old Mulder later in the episode when he literally chokes Duane Barry. And this is bordering on the same. I mean, this is really at least two, a minimum of two deep abuses of power on Mulder's part, which we do not like to see. And, the tram guy just gets like a little tap on the side of the gun, which, like, fuck that. But at least that's as far as it goes there. Later, if I may, with Duane Barry, this is either a man who's been abducted and traumatized, or this is a man that has been injured and has traumatic brain injury. Either way, the fucking physical assault of this man at the hands of Mulder is really jarring, to say the least. We know he loves Scully, but this is a little too much.
Scully would definitely not approve.
Oh my God, Scully is going to be actually fucking can't wait for Scully to come back from the spaceship or helicopter she's currently on so that she can fucking ream Mulder before she reams Mulder. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Okay. So up Mulder goes into the tram. The tram operator's like, if there's a problem with the cable, I'm going to shut it down. I'm not going to be responsible for your death. Now, if you want to slow down, and Mulder's already racing away. Skirk!
He's like, you just press this dial, and Mulder literally is skirk up the cable. I don't know why I find it like I was terrified, just like the tram man, but I also found it so funny that he's like fast and furiousing the tram, but that is 30 miles an hour,
26 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. Ooh, hitting the nos on the tram is 30 miles an hour.
Nos on the tram. Exactly. They have these terrifying moments at the towers where it's like Mulder has to slow down at the tower because if it's going as fast as it's going at the tower, it'll jump the cable. Whew, tension.
No, thank
Definite
you.
Tension.
He gets close to the top and then Krychek bops the tram operator over the head with his gun and shuts down the dang tram.
Which, question mark, kills him?
Kills him? Question mark? I guess it was really... Well, maybe he like finished the job so that the guy couldn't like identify him.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was like so confused later when they're like impossible murder of a tram operator. I was like, wait, he just got bonked. What happened?
And then fucking Tattletale Krychek just cannot get on the phone with Smoking Man soon enough. He's like, guess what I did? I've been a good little boy. He wants his cookie.
Yeah, he really does.
But you know who can't be stopped by a mere paused tram? Special Agent Fox Mulder, who zoops up through the top of the tram and is like surfing. And then Krychek's like, oh, well, I better start it up again and see if I can fuck with him.
I love Krychek's little look to like in this moment. Like he's like, this motherfucker. Like he's like, I can't stop him. You know, he just has like a really silly little like zoinks look on his face when Mulder still figures it out.
Something funny that happens here as Mulder is atop the tram is that they clearly were shooting this over a length of time during which the light significantly changed. So we're cutting back and forth through sort of like afternoon and like twilight.
The twilight, if I may use your word, shots are so beautiful. They're so gorgeous with like the sun setting behind like the dangling car and Mulder on the top. A+.
So Mulder surfs that tram right up to the top of the mountain and Krychek is like, drat.
Did you say clearly? I mean, I know we're assuming that you've watched the episode, but like the fact that Krychek stops it and then when he sees Mulder on it, starts it again, felt like a really important thing to note. Like he's fully just trying to kill Fox Mulder.
Yeah. Why not reverse the tram, Krychek? A thought? Or do they only go in one direction and then like a ski lift, they like swing around at the top?
I do think they definitely swing around. And probably if anyone was going to be able to reverse it, it would probably be in the car that you have that control. I think Krychek might only have like power on, power off control.
I see.
But what do I know? I just want to make sure that we talk about the screamer suit because I didn't know what it was. Did you see that Mulder, when he opens up the little like bench to see if there's any supplies for him, he pulls out a screamer suit?
I did not catch that. Tell me everything.
At first, I was like, oh my God, he's going to parachute down. A screamer suit must mean a parachute. It doesn't because he tosses it aside. He's like, I have no use for this. And if my research is correct, a screamer suit is this. So if you're like on the tram, but you're stuck, then usually like a helicopter will come and like get you or whatever. And so from what I gathered, a screamer suit is this like you put your arms in it and then you can like hook it on the back so you can kind of like pick somebody up out of the thing. And that's a screamer suit. So.
Oh my goodness.
I hope I'm not misinforming thousands of people, but sometimes it's fun to do that and then get yelled at, you know? So go ahead and yell at me if I did it wrong.
That's for you and you alone.
Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich.
When I saw the first race, I was like, giddy.
Actor Ewan Ryan.
For an actor, that's a dream, although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
And so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about like what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Burntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Burntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.
It's pretty clear to everyone by now that social media has changed everything from the way we live to how we discuss politics and what we think we know about the world around us. Which begs the question, who's in charge here? Hi, I'm Jon Favreau, former Obama speechwriter turned chronically online host of Offline with Jon Favreau. Join me every week just outside your social media-fueled echo chamber for a smarter, lighter conversation about the real-time changes and real-world effects of social media and the internet on all of our lives. Check out Offline with Jon Favreau every Sunday wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so Scully's car is at the top of the mountain, bloody fingerprints everywhere. Mulder. So I didn't say this earlier, but I do want to just say clearly that we've had a few moments in the series up until this point where we've had other people tell us that Mulder is this like A+ agent. He's a phenom. He is better than every agent. He can crack cases. His profiles are award-winning, etc. But LaToya and I think, have specifically been like, can we see
footage not found?
Yeah. And I think that, not that I think like Mulder is doing this like genius work in this episode, but I think that at least the direction of the episode is doing some of the lift to show us Mulder piecing together things.
Putting it together, yeah. I kind of felt like I was watching an episode of Psych.
It's just I've never seen Psych, but it's like Clue and then...
Yeah, Clue, and then I'm just so good at observing things that I know exactly what happened.
Deep, deep satisfaction for Kristin Russo when this trunk is popped. This is like an old, like you pull it and it unlatches the trunk. It just was a really nice, satisfying moment.
Do you think Scully like took her necklace off on purpose to be like, to leave a little breadcrumb?
But how? She doesn't have her hands were like bound.
Listen, she's a medical doctor.
She like got her.
She has many skills. Yeah.
The chain, I took a good hard look at the chain because it was a real nice box chain, and I don't think that she did it. I think that Duane Barry probably in the scuffles that ensued popped it, like broke it, not intentionally, but accidentally.
Okay.
You've brought up the cross necklace that Scully has worn so many times already, and I have always just default assumed that she was somebody like that practiced faith in that way. So to learn with this cross necklace that actually this was a gift from her mom and is not an indication of her larger Christian
we don't know
faith.
that it's not an indication.
We don't.
All we know is that her mom gave it to her.
We know that her mom gave it to her, but like at least for me, a first-time viewer, the way that the dialogue was set up later when Mrs. Scully, I can never say it and feel normal, Mrs. Scully is talking to Mulder about the cross necklace. Mulder legit says, as a skeptic, I've always wondered. And Scully's mom is like, well, I gave it to her. Like, it seems like this, like, well, she's wearing it because it was a gift, not because she is a believer. And I'm not, obviously much more to learn. But this was the first time that I considered that maybe the cross is not an indication of like a deep faith, which would then be in conflict with being.
Yeah, I mean, Scully is like, what, 30?
If that. I think she's like maybe late 20s.
28? Yeah. Picture a 28-year-old wearing a gift that their mom gave them when they were 15 if there wasn't like a larger
meaning. Larger meaning.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to see.
It is with great sorrow that I must inform you, the listener, we have gotten to the part of the episode that features the clip we played at the top of the episode. When Mulder gets to the top of the mountain, he finds Duane Barry, who is cackling maniacally into the night, screaming at the sky, "You can't touch Duane Barry anymore." And Mulder's like, "Where is she?" And Duane Barry says, "They took her." And Mulder says, "Who?" And Duane Barry says, "Them!"
Ruby!
I told Kristin this clip had to be the opening clip because they took her who them is burned into my brain for all time. And I don't know if it's just me or if that's across the viewership that people have this stuck. You know, if this is living in your mind rent free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of they, a lot of them. Not a lot of descriptors about the thing that happened or the beings that took her is all I keep.
Just a lot of big lights and zoomy noises on top of this mountain.
So they've got search and rescue teams searching for Scully. And Duane Barry is in a room. He's getting some like water and treatment for his wound because don't forget he literally like left the hospital after being shot by a sniper in the last episode. So he's got some stuff going on.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's why he's all bloody.
I forgot.
His chest is all bloody. So Mulder is questioning, and we already talked about the fucking nonsense with the choking, but it's, I think, important to note that in this line of questioning, Mulder says, that was the deal, her instead of me. Mulder says, did you kill her? And Duane Barry says, no, they were there. I'm not lying. And then we see men outside of the window. Jenny, well, I guess just me and my crystal ball will have to opine about this later, but because I was going to say, do you think these men were really there or not? We'll save it for the crystal ball. The thing that I found interesting about this scene is that when Duane Barry is like, they're right there, go, you have to go now, all of the Mulders I've ever known would be going right then. And so I was very confused about why there was any hesitation on the part of Mulder. Like, is he just really of the belief at this point that Duane Barry is just making it all up or seeing this in his mind because of his injury?
Yeah, I think he's just like I think Mulder is spiraling.
Yeah.
And so it's preventing him from purely Mulderian courses of action.
I can drink every episode that Jenny fits in a Mulderian, you know.
He sees blood and red hair on Duane Barry's wristband, and this is when, unfortunately, the choking begins.
Yeah.
We hate to
Not
see it.
cool, Mulder. Not okay, Mulder. No thank you, Mulder. After this is over, and we are thankful that it is, Duane Barry seems like shaken up, but he does at least seem like he's okay. I mean, he has pre-existing injuries, but like it doesn't seem like what Mulder has just done would result in this man dying. Which is what happens later. And we get this line from Duane Barry at the end of the scene that I thought was really powerful, where he just says, I'm sorry. They had to take her. I hope they're not hurting her. I'm sorry. And I just, Duane Barry has been a character that we only knew for 2 episodes. And I think this is his last lines. And I thought it was nice to give him this last line because he seems like a guy that's been through a lot. And maybe I will continue that thought by saying that he is wearing a University of Maryland sweatshirt, Jenny, and it really made me think like that seems like a choice because not every time, but almost every time we've seen Mulder in like casual clothes, he's been wearing like a Georgetown sweatshirt or like a college sweatshirt. We know that Duane Barry was former FBI.
Yeah.
And so it really seems like they're overlaying some of Duane Barry with Mulder in a way that I think is pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when we really get a lot of that sweatshirt in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Mulder pops out into the hall and Krychek is there and he's like, were you out here alone or were there a bunch of aliens and or government officials
yeah, just ask the turkey, why don't you?
Yeah, ask the turkey. Kristin, up in space, maybe Scully is covered in lit up plus signs, and then here comes a hollow needle, which I absolutely do not care for, and then, whoa, her stomach is made pregnant. We're thinking purity if it's a girl, control if it's a boy.
Yeah, this is, so you're saying we see. I interpret this as Mulder, another like unlocking from Mulder. I imagine this happening in Mulder's mind. Is that how you were reading this? Oh my God. Jenny just turned into the fucking shrug emoticon. I only because they did the thing that they did with a lot of the clues in the house where they sort of like zoom in close to the thing. And in this instance, it's Mulder looking outside. There's like a light outside and they zoom sort of into that light to the thing. Like it felt like Mulder's fear more than anything else. We can get really deep into all of the thoughts that my crystal ball and I have momentarily, but I do want to say while we're here, since there is a large pregnant belly, which sometimes makes me think of ovaries, since ovaries generally contain eggs, which could then create a pregnancy like the one we're seeing, that a listener of ours wrote in, Jenny, Alyssa, with a call for a jingle for the last episode, the white supremacy jingle. And I think that it is spot on. So I'm just going to read a tiny bit of Alyssa's email. Alyssa says, I wanted to mention the inherent white supremacy that Mulder hopefully unintentionally exhibits when he's talking. Let's all remember CCH Pounder, please. When he talks about happily, when he talks about the aliens and the ovaries, he's a white man talking to a black woman. And I cannot help but to think about the long history of white men experimenting on black women. If you know any of the history of gynecology, it is a very horrific, horrible history. And I think it is very well called out here by Alyssa. So I would like to retroactively play the white supremacy jingle for that moment, which we missed in our coverage of Duane Barry.
You know what that sounds like to me? White supremacy. Woven in not so subtly. White supremacy. Open your eyes and that's where you'll find it. Crush that white supremacy.
I'm just going to read a tiny bit more of Alyssa's email. Mulder, Alyssa says, by trying to dominate this conversation, is trying to dominate a black woman by basically bringing up traumatic generational history. As we know, this continues forward today because doctors won't believe women and especially don't believe black women. So, Alyssa, thank you for writing in and for calling for that because you are correct. Back to the turkey. Krychek is in the room with Duane Barry when Mulder returns and says that this guy was gagging. Duane Barry was gagging. I just went to check on him. Then in my notes, Daddy arrives. Daddy Skinner comes in.
You disobeyed my direct order.
Kristin fans self.
It's okay.
Then really taking some of the excitement out of the room, Duane Barry dies. And Mulder immediately goes on a hunt for the autopsy details on Duane Barry because he thinks that Krychek poisoned him, and I think that Krychek poisoned him. So we're of a similar mind, me and Fox Mulder.
Yeah. He is just chilling in the morgue. He's just standing there moldering when the pathologist comes in and he's like, I want a copy of this autopsy report. What are your preliminary findings? I want to see the toxicology results. And she says he'll have to go through military channels. And he's like, what do you mean military channels? And she says, there wasn't an FBI pathologist available this morning because she's in space, Kristin.
Oh,
the only FBI pathologist.
Oh my God, I did not put together that was like, sorry, Scully wasn't here, so the military did it.
Yeah. So it's awfully light out for 6:16 a.m. Like it looks like the sun is like very high in the sky for 6:16 a.m. And the street is so busy. I know they're in a city, but it just seems like not 6:16 a.m.
I just look so Vancouverian, you know?
Yeah. And the clip clopping of Krychek's heels really just made me like, all I could think of was like my mom on a Sunday morning when I was a kid, you know? Like he really just sounds like a lady going to church.
Yeah. So Smoking Man tells Krychek that he's gotten Mulder's trust, so he might as well confirm his version of events. And then LaToya in her production notes kind of noted this as well, that this conversation exists to ask and answer the same question that many of us have had. Why are we not just killing Fox Mulder, apart from his soft chest hair? What was his chest hair?
It was silky.
Silky.
So.
Silky chest hair. And at first, the Smoking Man says, that's not policy. And then he says, kill Mulder and you risk turning one man's religion into a crusade. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah.
I feel like the Smoking Man really loves the drama.
I thought you were going to say smoking, and I was like, he does. You're right.
Well, no, he definitely loves smoking, but I think even more than smoking, he might love the drama.
Smoking Man really smoking like it is 1994 here, because you know what no smoker in 2024 does? Smoke half of every cigarette. That you are losing thousands of dollars in the year 2024 if you're putting out every cigarette halfway. Krychek also asks about Scully, and Smoking Man is like, we only tell you what you need to know. Tiny little baby turkey. Go.
Wow.
It just feels like, in a lot of ways, it feels like Mulder is like doing all of this groundwork and gets like a tiny bit of information from Mr. X here and there. And Krychek is doing all this footwork and gets a tiny bit of information from the Smoking Man. And it's just like, what if we just set up a date and the Smoking Man and Mr. X sit down and have a chat, you know? Like, what if we just talk it out, you guys?
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, me either.
Okay. So over at a really big table at Skinner's, he is running down the autopsy findings, including the bruised larynx of Duane Barry.
Skinner's sounds like a place where you would order potato skins and fries. You know what I mean? Like, it just, it's set like when you
watch
like,
football.
Yeah, watch football, drink some beer, you know, like it's down at Skinner's. You gonna go watch the game? I'm gonna be at Skinner's. Meet you there.
Yeah, I'll
like
be at Skinner's too.
Has that vibe.
For sure.
Yeah. Mulder tells the room that there's another plausible cause of death apart from nobody mentions the fact that he's been shot by a sniper before this and has escaped the hospital. Like that could also be a kind of plausible.
Yeah, there could be, I don't know, internal bleeding or something.
Yeah. But Mulder says, I think that he could have been poisoned, and I think that the military covered it up. And the smug bitch, the smuggest bitch, says, why are you so paranoid? And Mulder gives an answer that I stood up and applauded. I don't know. Maybe it's because I find it hard to trust anybody. Nailed it, Mulder. Fucking dictionary.com over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mulder asks to borrow Krychek's car. Where is Mulder's car?
If Mulder takes his own car, he can't find the cigarettes, so...
I know, but I'm just looking for any reason other than because the story needs him to. All right, so the errand that Mulder needs to run in Krychek's car is that he needs to go to the officer of Senator Richard Matheson. There I am, all queued up. But as the scene started, I typed, why Arlo Givens as I live and breathe. But then we don't even see Richard Matheson.
I want you to know that when we did tape that episode with Senator Matheson, the public cried out for the Sexual Tension Award nom for Matheson and Mulder, which I did want to include. So I'd like to stand here on my hill and say I said it. Jenny said no. So your fault. You did it.
I don't recall.
Deny.
I have no recollection.
Deny everything.
No, he's not going to get up to Matheson's office because X is waiting in the darkened stairwell.
Let's hear a little bit of this conversation, in my opinion, the most important part of this conversation.
You know, don't you? You know what's happened to her.
This reaches beyond any of us, Mr. Mulder. Even my predecessor.
I want an answer.
Why kill Duane Barry if there was nothing to hide?
You mean the government?
There are no answers for you, Mr. Mulder. They only have one policy. Deny everything.
Wow. That doesn't
Goodness.
look like anything to me.
Yeah.
Ah.
And if that wasn't enough of a bombshell, Mulder gets back in Krychek's car, opens the ashtray, and discovers cigarette butts. Okay.
Half-smoked cigarette butts.
Sure. Yeah, you could say that's sort of like a stylistic identifier, but this man is about to go to his boss and say, my colleague is engaged in seriously nefarious activities, including but not limited to multiple murders. And my evidence is, whips out Ziploc bag of cigarette butts in 1994, Kristin, when everyone smoked.
Yeah. Also, I would like to let you know, if you've never been around a cigarette before, usually if you smoke a cigarette in a car, your clue that a cigarette has been smoked in that car would be immediate upon sitting down in that car, because it will smell exactly like a cigarette.
But you can't show a smell.
Yeah. But I just feel like it would have been, I mean, I understand writing, blah, 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 blah. But like, if we're really going to be accurate, Mulder would have gotten in the car and been like, what the fuck? And opened the ashtray right away. Like it's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Maybe the
But he had
cigarette
an errand to
smoking
run.
Maybe the cigarette smoking man smokes odorless cigarettes.
Could be.
Let's put that in our files.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so big allegations to Daddy Skinner, but I have to say Daddy Skinner is taking things more seriously than perhaps we would have guessed he would, even before he sees the cigarette.
I like to see Skinner taking things seriously. I was cracking up a little bit when, Mulder's like, they're getting up to no good. They're killing these tram operators and Duane Barry, and they took Scully and they're holding her somewhere. And Skinner's like, why? And Mulder's like, because she had the implant, which is irrefutable evidence. Is it irrefutable evidence, or does it have a tiny little barcode that makes like a grocery store register go nuts? Or because her termination would prevent further involvement with me and my work. On the one hand, yes, but on the other hand,
yeah, that's fair. We learn that Krychek is fucking gone. Did they kill Krychek,
He's in the wind.
or did he just disappear because his job was over? Fucking all Jenny is this whole episode is a shrug emoticon. All right, so Krychek is gone. Mulder shows Skinner his little cigarettes. And they have an exchange that made me, Kristin Nolene Russo, scream at my television. Fuck yeah! So let us hear the exchange right now.
Who are these people who can just murder with impunity and we can't do anything about it?
Let it go, Agent Mulder.
Like hell.
There's nothing you can do.
What can you do about it?
There's only one thing that I can do, Agent Mulder. As of right now, I'm reopening the X-Files. That's what they fear the most.
Holy shit.
Is that what they fear the most? Listen,
Jenny.
I love this show,
Uh-huh.
and I love Mulder's pursuit of the truth and stuff. But is it what they fear the most?
Jenny, I'm watching the show 3 Body Problem. Not to be confused with the next episode 3, but are they related? And there was a joke in the television show about cake farts, and I could not believe it. I was like, I've lived all these years with this knowledge just to be able to get this joke. Was thrilled. Whenever you say, is it really what you fear the most or whatever, I just think about her saying, you know what I like the most?
The most! It's her favorite thing in the whole... Kristin, I can't stress this enough.
The most.
It's at the very tippy top of her list.
Jenny, I also just hear you saying that. Like, I hear her saying, you know what I like the most, and then you saying the most incredulously.
It's just a lot. It's just a lot.
The X-Files are fucking reopened, baby. Let's go. Get this bitch back down to his basement office with that I Want to Believe poster. We need some slideshows.
Yeah, he's unrolling the poster.
Go.
He's taking the sheets of plastic, like whipping them off his desk. Friggin' taking out the drawers in his filing cabinet.
He's fucking WD-40ing that shit, getting it ready to roll. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I need maximum smoothness on this drawer pull. Thank you very much. I got to get in there, grab a file real quick, whip it right down in front of Scully as soon as she gets back.
As soon as she gets back. He's going to try to beam up some files to wherever Scully is. All right, so a few things happening still. I thought that was
polishing the lens of his slide projector.
Yeah. I thought this was the end of the episode. I was like, where do we have to go from here? This is it. Those fucking X-Files are open, but there's a little more.
It's very tender. We have Mulder meeting up with Mrs. Scully again, and she's talking about how she had that dream a second time, and she says, I can't tell you how it scares me. And Mulder says, it's probably scarier when you stop having the dream, don't you think?
I assume he still dreams about his sister, and that's what he's talking about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we've seen him
dream about his sister. Yeah.
I
mean, I would also dream about somebody if I had 65 photos of them on my desk that I saw every day.
Just everywhere. Taped to the bathroom mirror, in your glove box. And then they have the necklace exchange about, skepticism that we already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tries to give her the cross necklace, and she puts it in his hand and closes his fingers around it and says, when you find her, you give it to her.
Oh.
And that hurts my feelings.
Yeah. And then we get this last beautiful shot of Mulder back up at the top of the mountain.
Mulder of the mountain?
Mulder of the mountain. Staring at the sky and the light just like hitting his little face, looking up, just wondering where his soulmate is,
Yeah.
And his sister.
She's
also.
on maternity leave, Mulder.
Shout out to a very pregnant Gillian Anderson. I read some stuff about her, like literally climbing into this trunk of this car, like so pregnant to do these shots. You love to.
God bless.
You love to see it. All right, Jenny, where are we going first?
Oh my gosh. Kristin. First, that sounds like a bass, which is traditionally followed by second, third, and then maybe just a home run. Let us turn now to the It's Baseball Season edition of the Sexual Tension Awards. Sexual Tension Award. Welcome back to this episode's installment of the Sexual Tension Awards. Kristin.
Yes?
We're here. It's time.
I'm
There's
here.
the crackling energy.
Let's go.
It's like, yeah.
It's sizzling.
It's sizzling. Let me tell you all about some stuff. Some noms that I've placed in some slots very thoughtfully and with a great deal of care in my heart. In slot number 1, that's an order. It's Mulder and Skinner, for reasons we have discussed at length already. In slot number 2, how'd you sleep? It's Mulder and Krychek, for reasons we have discussed at length already. In slot number 3, it's little tattletale Krychek reporting to his superior officers.
Oh, he loves that shit. Tell me what to do, he says.
Yeah. And it's slot number 4. He's a man on a mission, and who doesn't love that? It's Mulder and cracking the case. He's got to get in there. He's got to get to the bottom of this. If it's the last thing he does.
Wow. Jenny, I have some results from Duane Barry if you'd like to hear them.
I'd love to hear them.
Well, a collective 17% of the vote was split between the 3 losers. Fourth and third place tied with 5%. Mulder and Krychek, sorry guys, and Mulder and metal implants scattered throughout the body, 5% each. 7%, a whole 7% for Mulder and Scully, who got to see each other in real life for the first time for like 3 episodes.
Oh my God.
And Jenny, that is because 83% of the vote went to all of us and Mulder
that
in a Speedo.
Is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That, sometimes it feels like the world is a mess and everything is wrong and we are such a disaster as a species that we will never dig ourselves out of this horrific hole we've dug down into. But when Mulder in a Speedo and all of us is getting 80-something% of the vote, it gives me hope.
Yeah, me too.
Now, dear listener, if you wish to participate in this episode's Sexual Tension Awards poll, please visit bufferingcast.com/STA. That will take you right to the poll where you can take your enthusiastic pointer finger and really jam it onto the vote button of your choice. Is this?
Yeah, it's working. Jenny, I just have to tell you, since you're talking about jamming your finger onto something, that I saw your son this weekend because he also came to some of the prom events, and I remembered that his favorite game was once Poke the Wall, and
that's a game that I made up that we play a lot.
Yes, and I said to him,
it involves
in the hallway, "Hey, buddy, what about Poke the Wall?" And we both took our pointer fingers out and enthusiastically smashed the wall. So
that makes me very happy. The circle of life, Kristin. That's so beautiful. He loves to poke the wall, and he loves when other people love to poke the wall. So,
all right, let's get out of here.
All right, go vote and see me next episode. Now, Kristin, speaking of seeing things, peer if you dare. Would you please turn your eyes to peer deep into the amethyst glow of Kristin's crystal ball?
I will.
Kristin's crystal ball, she can see it all. What's coming down the pike, I'm sure she'll get it right.
Okay.
What's in there? What's going on in there?
There's so much going on in Kristin's crystal ball today because there's big questions, and some of them my crystal ball and I feel confident about, and some of them we feel confused about. I'm going to start with some listener questions, okay?
Okay.
Ember, how many episodes do you think Scully's absence will be? And or how do you think she will re-enter the show? So she's been gone for 1. And I think she's going to be gone for a couple.
We just saw her in this episode. Bopping around in a trunk.
Okay, true. But she was kidnapped. I guess she was right. She was kidnapped in this episode and then like taken away into the sky by some kind of sky vehicle. So we're in episode 6. This is the 6th episode. So I think that she'll be back by 9, by 2:09. I haven't looked. I probably could fucking give myself some kind of clue by looking at the episode titles, but I'm not even doing that.
Episode 209, famously titled "Scully's Back, Bitch."
Scully's return. And I think so this kind of dovetails with some of the larger crystal ball questions, which is Did aliens take Scully, or did the military take Scully? Is the military working with the aliens? What's happening? I think that at the very least, when Scully comes back, there will be like a mind erase that has happened, similar to what we saw with Mulder back in season 1, because there's no way that in season 2 of this show, Scully will have seen anything close to an abduction situation and return and remember it and still give us this many more seasons of a show about a skeptic and a believer. So I think at the very least, Scully's mind will be erased. I want to believe that this is military and nearly like that there's very little alien in this arc. Like that is what I want to believe. I want to believe that this is actually an arc that is showing us how fucking covert this branch of the military is. I don't think it's about giving Scully to the aliens. I guess I just have a little bit more respect for aliens than for like some of the more fucked up branches of our government, you know? I think that if the aliens had put a chip in Duane Barry, they wouldn't just trade out for another human. They're doing research. They would need Duane Barry back. But I think that because Duane Barry talks so much about a trade, and he also talks about the military and this covert group of guys. So like I think that it makes much more sense for that kind of group of humans to do a trade for an agent that is causing them many problems in the investigation of aliens. So those are some of mine and the Crystal Ball's big thoughts. I can't really figure out the cigarette smoking man, and I think he smokes so much that he obscures himself in the crystal ball. You know what I mean? There's like so much smoke around him.
Right.
It's just really hard to get a clear read. So I'm giving myself a couple more episodes on the cigarette smoking man to give my next guesses on him. Andy also asked Jenny, 3 of what? What? The next episode is called 3. 3 of what?
Okay, 3 of what?
I am going to say 3 men. And a baby. Just kidding. But actually, yeah, because Scully is space pregnant. I'm going to say 3 men. I am, like I've said a few times, I'm watching 3 Body Problem, which the core of that show is there are 3... If you're orbiting 3 suns or something like that, like that's the vibe. So when I hear 3, I'm mostly thinking about 3 suns and how when you can't.
Suns grow to be men.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think it's 3 men. I saw 3 men at the window.
Okay.
And I'm going 3 men. Jenny,
okay, 3 men and maybe a baby.
Maybe a baby. Do you have any? Do you have any questions?
You're asking all the great questions yourself.
There's so many, and I feel like I called questions out to myself earlier in this podcast that I said I would talk about in the crystal ball, and I don't even remember what they are anymore. So if I've forgotten to answer a question, you can always reach me at crystalball@bufferingcast.com, or if you're on the Discord, pop into the channel. Maybe one last funny one from a listener, Tori, who said, will this be the last straw that makes Scully move to a safer apartment? Absolutely not.
She's got to be figuring statistically.
Yeah, how many times?
Eventually, an attack will have to be the last attack.
Oh, God.
Kristin, the smuggest bitch of this episode, I believe you've already decided.
I couldn't find a smugger bitch than that dude. He was so smug that I looked for him in the credits to see if he had a name, and I couldn't find one except for FBI agent. He's a pretty smug motherfucker. You go back, you look at the way that smug bitch smiles at Mulder when he's like dragging him on his bullshit. I don't think it's bullshit, for the record. The smug bitch thinks it's bullshit.
Well, Kristin.
Jenny.
I'm Jenny Owen Youngs.
You are.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Once and forever.
And when I'm not watching the X-Files or Buffy, I'm usually making music. In fact, I'll be making some music live starting next week in my new home territory of New England. I'm going to be playing in Northampton, Portland, Maine, Boston, and Portsmouth, New Hampshire, It's going to be so fun. You should come hang out. I'm going to be playing a lot of songs from my latest album, Avalanche. You can grab tickets and learn more about the record, too, at JennyOwenYoungs.com. You can give me a shout on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and occasionally Twitch at Jenny Owen Youngs.
Hell yeah. I won't be at any of those shows, but I will be wishing.
Rude.
I know. I'm a smug bitch, actually. I am Kristin Russo. You can find me on socials at Kristin Noline, and you can use that also to find my website, KristinNoline.com, KristinNoeline. When I'm not hanging out with Jenny, I am usually trying to figure out how I can hang out with Jenny next. But when I'm not doing...
That's right, because I'm your best friend, and you want to be near me always.
Always, all the time. When I'm not doing that, I am usually working for or with LGBTQ communities. It turns out June must not be that far away, because a lot of folks have been emailing me to book me for speaking events at their workplaces. If you work somewhere and you'd like me to come and talk to your employees about like just being generally cool to LGBTQ people or parenting an LGBTQ kid, that is something that I do, and I love doing it. So you can learn all about that on my website. And Jenny, who are we?
Buffering, a Rewatch Adventure, is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BufferingCast. You can drop us an email at hello@bufferingcast.com or write to the Crystal Ball at crystalball@bufferingcast.com.
Support our work, if you will. We would love to have your support. We are an independent podcast, and you can support us at Patreon, patreon.com/bufferingcast.
This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson, with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. And till next time, the status of this X-File is bringing you a coffee and wondering how you slept.
Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.